Oh, this is so long overdue. So long overdue. Barstool's famous, the Rocket, the man
Ooh.
from Saugus, Massachusetts, Mr. ARod Carrabis. Welcome to the show.
It's probably been like over 10 years. It has to be. It is over 10 years.
15 years since we first met.
2000. Oh, it was around like 2008.
2008. The backstory. I mean, you're just a big famous guy kissing babies and signing titties at Fenway Park.
Well, I actually did sign a baby. I did sign a baby. That's something that happened.
What's it like being the Rocket? How did that come about? I gotta boost your ego a little bit.
Oh damn! Like where? Like, what do you mean in terms of like?
Big Hot Rocket. Where's the origin of that?
So, I think like it basically started on like Dallas Braden is my starting nine co-host, and it basically started on his radio show as a means for me to like piss him off because he would always talk about how like he would always talk about like his stories of being in the big leagues, and that I would try to equate his big league experiences to my like high school baseball experiences just because it would drive him insane. And so like I gave myself that nickname. Like I said that like in high school they used to call me the Saugus Rocket, which like just isn't true at all. So then his co-host Pecan thought that it was funny, so he just started doing it every day, knowing that it was irritating Dallas, and then it just kind of spilled over from Dallas's radio show to Twitter, and then like people call me Rocket more than ARod now. Like when I go to Fenway, like which is great because Dave Portnoy is an idiot and he can't pronounce my last name right. So like I used to get Carrabis all the time, and it like makes me cringe. So I mean, it's just easier. Like if you don't,
Carrabis the restaurant.
Yeah, like if you can't say Carrabis, then they just say Rocket, and it's like, well, that's great anyway. Like I'll take that 10 times out of 10. So.
And then you just started printing T-shirts. I mean, it's become a shtick.
Yeah.
The Starting Nine podcast, which is fantastic. You can hear it on Barstool Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You guys are so big. You had like a world tour unfortunately during the pandemic. What's been the most exciting spot? I mean, I'm not going to say like pick your favorite interview, but what's been the best part about, like your spring training tour? You guys are like a traveling RV.
Yeah, I think like the coolest part about doing all that stuff is that like guys know that they're safe with us. So when they come on the bus, they're like, all right, well, this is not going to be like a normal interview that I do all the time. So like they know that they're getting an ex-player in Dallas. So like they'll be safe there. And in me, they're just getting like some like idiot. So they know that it's like, this isn't going to be, you're not going to be like digging for something to use as a quote card later. We're just going to have fun here. And I think the coolest thing is that when we're doing all these interviews, like we're making connections with these guys, and you know, by the end of the interview, you're exchanging numbers, you're following each other on Instagram, and then like you're talking to them for the rest of the year. So like a dude like Lucas Giolito of the White Sox, we met him spring training 2019. We did this long interview with him. Me and him like hit it off in the interview because that's when I started growing my hair. So in the middle of the interview, I was like, you have beautiful hair. Like what do you use? Like, what's your products? Like, tell me how to get my hair to look like yours. And he like took me under his hair wing, and then like throughout the course of the season, I mean, in 2019, he had the best season of his career. So like we would talk after starts and stuff, but then we would also just like talk about like hair progress, and like you become like friends with these guys. And that's like been the coolest part. Is like you build the relationships in spring, and then they bud into beautiful friendships by October.
That's fantastic. Would you say that your hair now is like Johnny Bravo or
I don't know.
Bryce Harper?
Ooh, I mean, like that's always the goal. That's always the goal is Bryce Harper.
Is Bryce Harper a sex symbol? Could you say
that? Isn't he a Mormon? Isn't he the opposite of a sex symbol?
Yeah, no, he actually is a Mormon. But
yeah,
oh my God, I was on a dating app. I think I was in LA, and there was a guy that I matched on Raya, and I was like, "You look like Bryce Harper," and he goes, "Fuck you,
fuck you."
He was like, "That's not funny," and I was like, "Why is that not funny? He's hot."
Yeah, he's very hot. I like we've had that conversation on Starting Nine before about like best hair in baseball. And the default answer is Bryce Harper, but I think
is Jared Carrabis.
Well, it's getting there. We're definitely getting to a point where like that's going to be the discussion. But with Bryce Harper, I think the craziest thing about him is it's the same thing about the Biebs, like before he like got into like drugs and looked like a meth addict. But the Biebs, his hairstyles would change all. Like, how do you be the guy that has great hair when your hair is never the same? Like Bryce Harper's hairstyles are changing all the time. But like once I got something that worked, I was like, let's stick with this because we're getting compliments and like, let's stick to that. But like Bryce Harper's like, all right, everyone loves this. Let's do it a different length. Let's do it a different style. Let's do it a different cut. And that's when you know that you have great hair, is when you can just like be like, I'm going to wear it however I want and you're going to love it. And they do.
I mean, that's what happens when you have like $400-500 million. Then
Yeah.
you can just change your hair every day.
I guess.
Getting into the baseball stuff. Speaking of like those exorbitant contracts, we just saw a first $500 million contract in Patrick Mahomes. And the NFL contracts are starting to get crazier and crazier. Is there a limit to how outrageous baseball money? I mean, is it going to get bigger? Or is there going to be a salary cap in baseball? Like, what's the deal?
So the way that I feel like my perspective on this is different than the average fan, because it's just, but it's the correct line of thinking. Like, I know it's weird to be like, you guys are thinking about this wrong. I'm the one that's right. But think about it this way. It's basic economics. Like, if the sport is making X, then the players who create the sport deserve Y. And like, no one ever looks at like, oh, Major League Baseball last year brought in $11 billion. And then you want to say like the best pitcher in the game got $326 million. Like, holy shit, that's so much money. It's like, he's literally the best pitcher in the sport. And the sport brought in 11 billion with a B dollars.
That's really remarkable to me, because a lot of people say the sport is dead, and we kind of, I mean, we could get into Rob Manfred and how corrupt he is and how much he doesn't really care about the sport, so to speak. I mean, Bud Selig only really cared about bringing a franchise back to Milwaukee.
Yeah,
he was passionate about the
that.
game of baseball. A lot of people forget that Rob Manfred was the head of the biogenesis scandal to go after Alex Rodriguez. And I don't know if you saw Screwball the movie, but it was a clusterfuck at the end of the movie. I mean, it was just so brilliantly done. Very funny. But yeah, you saw like how corrupt and how crazy it got at the end. And then he got promoted to commissioner. So, I mean, what's wrong with the game of baseball? How can there be more? I mean, how can the game grow? Because the number of $11 billion, that's going to shock a lot of people when they listen to this, because who the hell is watching baseball? It's not the younger generations. I think you and I are the only diehard baseball fans that are left in Gen X, Gen Z, whatever we are, millennials.
Yeah, we're millennials. I feel like Gen X is right after us.
No, I think we're Gen Y.
We're close. We're close.
We're Gen Y.
But
you're a little younger than me, but
am I?
I'm 33.
Oh, okay, yeah, he's 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
Okay. When I think of people that say baseball is dead, I think what they're trying to say is that baseball is boring, and because it's not dead. I mean, a sport that brings in $11 billion. I mean, if that's dead, then I don't know what that makes me. But you look at the sport of baseball.
That's what it makes you.
Yeah.
It makes you Weekend at Bernie's.
Pretty much. But I think it's like those people are they're rooting for baseball to be dead almost, because either they just grew out of it, or they're just so diehard football. Like, football's a cult. Like, I know that football is the number one sport in this country, but it's also the most insecure sport in this country. Like, they're always trying to, and I mean hockey too, but like football is always trying to, like, anyone that talks about how big their dick is has a small dick, and that's the NFL. Those are football fans. Like, baseball doesn't need to be like, because baseball fans, they're like, obviously we love baseball, We love baseball a whole, like baseball is not the sport that you just kind of like get into later in life. Like I feel like there are people that maybe they weren't into sports at all in like high school and college, but it's like, well, in my later years, it's like, well, on Sunday, it's just a thing to do. Like the NFL has a day of the week and Sunday is just a day to chill out. So I guess I got into football. If you're a baseball fan, you were born with like a baseball in your fucking hand. Like that's like they're lifelong passionate people that don't necessarily care if you like the sport or not. And I think that's part of the problem is that it's an acquired taste for sure. I can acknowledge that. And I think whereas how I mentioned like football fans are insecure, like they have to tell you how like great their sport is. And like hockey fans are like, please like my sport. But when you try to give their sport a chance, they're like, fuck you. You're not an OG hockey fan. Like the hockey fans are the weirdest. Like those people are fucking bizarre. They desperately want you to like hockey. And then when people who aren't super into hockey talk about hockey, they're like, get out. Like you're not a real hockey fan. But baseball fans are kind of just like, I like baseball. Do you like baseball? Oh, okay, you do. Let's have a conversation. And if you don't like baseball, then it's like, well, I think it's almost like a personality trait or just like the way that your brain is designed. Like baseball fans' brains work in a certain way because we are interested in a sport where it's on every single night. It's 162 games. Yeah. And the time in between action is long. Like you have to fall in love with the intricacies of baseball. Like football,
I feel like, if I interject for a second, like I feel like watching a baseball game, it's like meditating.
Yeah.
If you don't get to, everyone's like, oh my God, the game is so slow.
Yeah.
They need to put a pitch count in. They need to, cut the games down to 7 innings. No, they don't. I think, of course,
football just as long.
Well, there's going to be more in the onset of the steroid era. I think we're getting back to those big numbers and players like Giancarlo Stanton who can hit fucking moonshots. I think everyone loves chicks dig the long ball, but
they do. That is true though.
It's going to get more exciting. And I feel like the league is, sorry, my Siri is, I don't understand why that does that. Does your computer ever do that? Like Siri just starts. Okay. I feel like the game, do you feel like the game of baseball is in good hands going forward?
I think right now it's not in the best hands because I don't know that like Rob Manfred is the guy to sort of lead baseball into that next generation of.
He worries me. He really, really worries me.
Yeah, I don't think that he's the guy that's going to lead baseball into that next era of like a golden era. But I think in terms of talent, in terms of the product has never been better. Like you could make the case that right now there is more talent in Major League Baseball than there ever has been. Like the fact that you have dudes just blowing 100 and it's like 10 years ago, like you're from Boston.
Yeah.
10 years ago, everyone knew who Daniel Bard was because holy shit, this guy can throw 100. Like he was like a circus freak. Like wait till like Jonathan Papelbon's good, but wait till Daniel Bard comes out of the bullpen because that guy throws 100 and everyone knew his name. Now you're almost a chump if you don't throw 98 plus coming out of the bullpen. So there's never been more talent. You have all these young superstars in their like mid to early 20s that are great now. It's not like when you call up a prospect and they're 22 years old, it's like, well, wait until he's like 26, 27. Like see what he's like then. It's like Fernando Tatis Jr. is 21. Juan Soto's 21. That was great. They're already the best players in the fucking game. So you have at least 15 more years of those guys. So you have this huge window to market them and promote the game to a younger audience that can identify with someone that's around their age. It's like, well, I mean, like I'm 17 years old. Look it's Fernando Tatis Jr. He's 21. Like that could be me. And if you're not doing that, and I think the biggest thing for me, obviously, is like the highlight sharing. Like the NBA is like, yeah, sure. You want to clip off our games and put them on social? Have at it. Like you're advertising our sport for free. Baseball is like, we are going to ban your account forever. Thank you for the free advertisement, but we are going to ban you so that you can never do it again. And we are going to discourage you from ever watching our sport again. And the blackouts. Like You can live in LA and not be able to watch the Dodgers. It's fucking insane.
Speaking of great baseball teams, the Dodgers, obviously, I think they're set for a pretty good, a couple of years to come. But the Red Sox, the Red Sox, this year was so fucking painful. It was painful to the point that
I didn't even think it was painful. I was numb to it. I felt nothing. I literally had nothing but apathetic feelings towards that baseball team.
How long? I know a lot of people are talking about Chaim Bloom at the helm of this. I mean, you look at what really did with the Rays in Tampa. They're looking like they're about to head to the World Series. Is it possible that can turn this team around quickly? Because here's the thing about Boston: this team shouldn't suck. This team has sucked for the last year or so. The team shouldn't suck for much longer, and they're not going to be able to suck for much longer because people here will not put up for it.
The ratings were down 50%. People just straight up said like, "Hey, I know you guys are doing that whole rebuild thing, but let me know when you're done with that because I'm not watching this team. They suck."
Yeah, and they did it in a very embarrassing way. So, what's the solution to this? Is Alex Cora going to come back, and is that going to spark, the rebound for the Red Sox?
I think Alex Cora is coming back.
I think Alex Cora is coming back too. Yeah. I think he's coming back. I think
Alex Cora is coming back.
I think Chaim Bloom doesn't want to bring him back just because he wants to have full reign and like bring in his guy. If Ron Renicky wasn't the guy, then or he was great, but they're going to pass on him. Like they're making a clean slate, and the owners are going to step in and be like, in order for us to not lose revenue, we're bringing Alex Cora back. So how does that happen?
Yeah. So anytime there's like a new it happened with Dave Dombrowski. When Dave Dombrowski first got to Boston, and everyone was like, oh, fuck, like he's going to trade all these prospects. Like he's going to fire John Farrell because that's not his guy. Yeah. And like these aren't his prospects. So like he has no emotional attachment. Like there's definitely a layer to that when you're a GM and you're dealing with prospects. It's like, oh, like I didn't draft these players. Like I have no emotional attachment to these guys, so I can flip them and it's not a big deal. But when you're talking about a manager, that's different. Like, oh, I want my guy. It's like, well, that just sounds like an ego thing. Like the question shouldn't be who's Chaim Bloom's guy. The question should be who is the best candidate for this job that will directly relate or connect to the success of the Boston Red Sox. The answer to that question is Alex Cora. Doesn't matter if he was here before. Doesn't matter if he's your guy. You have to ask yourself, which managerial candidate best puts the Red Sox in a position to succeed? Alex Cora is the answer to that question. So that's the guy that you hire.
Who is the centerpiece, the face of the Boston Red Sox? Is it Jackie Bradley Jr.? Is he going to stay around if they sign Cora? Is he going to hang around, or is it Xander Bogaerts or someone else?
I feel like this is Xander Bogaerts' team.
It's tough to ask that because it's like, listen, you're not going to have someone as big or as bold as Manny Ramirez or David Ortiz or Mookie Betts, so to speak. And obviously they shipped him out of town, but whose team is this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I hate the idea of putting like a C on the jersey for baseball players. I thought it was hokey when they did it with Veritek. I mean, literally they only did that because he was a free agent and they were like, all right, can you please stay? We'll give you the captain too. Like it was just like a bargaining chip almost. And it was after 2004. So it was like, well, everyone already owns a Veritek jersey. So now that we've won the World Series, let's put the C on your chest, and then everyone will have to buy another Veritek jersey.
Marketing at its finest.
Yeah, but I mean, like, this is Xander Bogaerts' team. Like, he's been here since he was 16 years old. And like, there's a video of me from like 2009 or something. It's an old video, and it's
Were
me.
You super scrawny? Because like when I met you, you were like the dweebiest dweeb with no tattoos,
none,
super scrawny. I feel like it was just your head and your Red Sox cap. Like I wrote a book. I wrote a book.
I was a skinny guy.
You were
But it
you were
was.
you were so annoying, but like you were admirable. You were
I
cute.
I was I was
You were
I was
just
trying.
you
I
were
was just
you were
trying to find
just
my
so
way.
passionate. You were so passionate. I
Yeah.
mean, I was like the sad poet writing, writing about baseball. That was my role,
Yeah, that
the
was
Sox Fox.
I didn't know what I was doing back then. I was like,
Yeah.
am I trying to do this for a job? Am I just like a fan? I don't really know.
Let's recap for everyone. So yeah, so Jared and I met 15 years ago. When I was a senior in college, I was approached by a guy named Rafe Anderson, who you could say, I mean, it changed the course of my career, of your career. He
For
asked me to
sure.
be a for sure. So he asked us to be bloggers for our website called Sox Heads. SAWXHEADS. So anyway, so we wrote blogs and we each had a personality. I mean, Jared was just Jared. I was the Sox Fox.
Sox
Um,
Fox.
I was the Sox Fox.
That's
And
wild.
yeah, we wrote baseball blogs. And Jared was one of the I think you were one of the first bloggers to have like a digital radio show. You
Yeah.
and Mary Paletti
Yeah. I mean,
back
like
in the
those
day.
videos, if you look for them, they're still out there.
No, they're definitely not out
Yes, they
there.
are. Yes, they are.
I looked for do you have the archive of the website? Because there are some I tried looking for all of I had 130 piece portfolio on that website and it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you I could probably try and dig up like the old blogs, but I know that I have the old webcasts. I found those like very, very recently, like because I forget what I was trying to look for. I think I was like we had Dan Duquette on maybe, and I tried to find the interview that me and Mary did with Dan Duquette, and I found it. So it's that some of the stuff is out there, and it's a wild trip. It's a wild trip to see like just the change in how comfortable I was on camera versus now, where back then I was super nervous. And that like the screen that you have for your microphone there, like the black screen. Yep.
Yeah.
So I had one of those because I had fucking braces as a 21-year-old.
Oh my god.
So I was like, yeah. So I was like, I'm on video. I need to get something that's going to block my face because I have braces.
Oh man. Oh man. Yeah. So we go way back. It's funny.
Yeah.
Someone was saying they're like, my phone, if I call you, it comes up as Saugus, Massachusetts, which I grew up in kind of the opposite area of Saugus, Massachusetts. So I guess, that's listen, we were eternally tied.
Forever.
Forever. Yeah.
We're almost at the point now where you in a few years there will be more years of your life where I was in it than not.
Jared trying to lock it down. Look at you spitting game on a
That's
podcast.
Me. Yeah, I'm smooth, baby.
Yeah, you got the Bryce Harper hair. You just
it's coming in hot right now.
Game left and right.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the current baseball situation here. Truncated season. I mean, it's almost like I compare it to the days when the NFC West, one team would be like 7-9 and they'd make the playoffs because that division was so terrible. Basically, everyone made the playoffs this year, but the most interesting storyline is the Houston Astros. Those cheating son of a bitches.
Yeah.
And how the hell did they make it into the ALCS? And how happy will you be when they get their asses spanked all the way home?
So I'm not one of those big, like, I hate the Astros guys. I just hate Carlos Correa. Yeah, I mean, with the whole cheating scandal.
Altuve, I used to think he was cool, but
yeah,
I just did too many lies.
Yeah, and you can tell how much this is bothering him. Like, even just as like reading body language and like psychoanalyzing these guys has been fascinating for me. Like, he came on to the like TBS, I think, interviewed him last night after the game because he homered. And like it was the on the field interview, and he had like the headset on with the booth, and they were like, all right, we got Jose Altuve, and then like they asked him a question, and then before he answered the question, he was like, first, I just want to thank you guys for having me on. It's like you're trying to come off as the polite nice guy because you want someone out there to be like, he's not that bad. Like, he's a nice guy, but I don't think it's phony. I genuinely do think that Jose Altuve is like a good person that just got caught up in the wrong shit. Like, I really believe that. Like, I don't think, like, there's definitely people out there that have these like phony personalities, and they're not that great of people. And I think we can put together like who I'm referring to. Both of them wore pinstripes. But I think there's definitely an element of like, because the way that it was described to me, right, with the whole Astros thing. So for like, people are like, why do you defend Alex Bregman? Is it because you want him to come on your podcast? And it's like, well, he's already been on my podcast, and he would come on again if I asked him to. But with Bregman, he was 22, I think, at the time. So he's 22 years old. He had been in the big leagues for 2 months. So I put it because, I'm 31. So if I'm 22 years old and I've been in the big leagues for 2 months, and Ken Griffey Jr. walks into the clubhouse, just got traded over to my team, and he's like, hey guys, I'm in my last fucking season. I'm a Hall of Famer, soon to be. I've never won a World Series. I just came from the Texas Rangers. This is what they were doing over there, and this is what we're going to do here if you guys want to win a World Series too. Am I, as a 22-year-old that's been in the big leagues for 2 months, going to be like, hey, Ken, fuck that, dude. We're not doing it. Like, no, you're not. No, you're not. So, like, I don't say that Bregman is exempt from blame, but it's like a blame pie. Like, I don't think that every slice should be equal. Like, I blame a guy like AJ Hinch, obviously. Like, that's your clubhouse dude. Like, you're the manager.
Yeah.
I blame Brian McCann. Like, he was the hardo veteran that he used to scream at Jose Fernandez when he pimped his home run or something like that, and he celebrated. Like, he was Captain Hardo, protector of like the rules of baseball. You were on that team and you let it happen. You didn't say shit. Like, how are you supposed to be Mr. Hardo baseball rules guy, and you're going to be on the team that has the biggest cheating scandal in the baseball's fucking 1,000-year history? So I blame guys differently. So I don't hate the Astros. I just hate specific players on the Astros. And I think it made sense. They weren't as bad as they played during the regular season. And obviously they weren't as good as they played against the Twins in Oakland. So now we're kind of just seeing like the middle portion of that, where it's like, well, they're not really that good. And the Rays are exposing that. Like, the Rays are good. And you're going to see why, because they're going to the fucking World Series.
Yeah. Speaking of those bad guys who turned out to be nice guys, it blows my mind that Alex Rodriguez really has become America's sweetheart because of the woman he sleeps next to every night.
Because of the company he works at.
Because of the company he works at. Is it remarkable to you that someone you want to talk about cheaters, one of the biggest cheaters in Major League Baseball history, and it was blatantly cheating. Jesus. I'm sorry.
Multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times. Is it remarkable that he's really become, so beloved by the country? Oh, anytime that Alex Rodriguez speaks, and he's so fantastic. Is that just a big PR scam? Like, I still don't get it.
Yeah. Yes, it is. I mean, I think I enjoy ARod as a baseball analyst, and I don't know, like, he just has this ability to charm you now. I think that there's
he really is a snake charmer.
Yeah, and I think that there's an element of he's no longer a threat, so it's easier to like him. Like, when he's not on the team that everybody hates, and especially as a Red Sox fan, like, from a personal standpoint, like, he's no longer a threat to my happiness from a baseball standpoint. It's easier to be like, all right, I can give this guy a shot. And from all accounts, like, I've probably met him like 2 times. And actually, I kind of called him out one time.
He's business partners with Big Cat.
Correct.
So he technically has a piece of Barstool that he owns. No.
Yeah. So
so you better watch out.
Yeah. I called him out the first time that I met him, because he was at Fenway and the ballpark was closed, but there was a tour that they were taking down like the concourse area behind like home plate, and like fans were literally just walking up to him and like trying to like talk to him, and he was pretending to be on a phone call. Like I know for a fact that and like I know that move. So he's like on his phone and just straight up ignoring people that are putting like a camera in his face or whatever. So the tour finally
surprised he didn't have security draped around him.
Yeah.
Like, he seems like that kind of guy. Like, oh, I'm going to 7-Eleven down the street. Got to have my security with me.
Right. So the tour moves away, and then I walk up to him. And I was like, hey, what's going on? And like, he's still pretending to be on the phone. And I was like, listen, I know you're not actually on the phone. I was like, I respect the move. I was like, my name's Jared. I work for Barstool. I do a show with Big Cat. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he put the phone down. So he wasn't really on his phone. I was like, yeah, like, you know, I do. And at the time I did. I think this was 2018. Yeah. So I was like, I do a show with Big Cat. You know, I'd love to have you on Starting Nine sometime. Like, I do like a baseball podcast. He's like, yeah, sure. He's like, I'll be at the office on Friday. And he was at the office on Friday, but like his schedule ended up being like too loaded to actually have him on the podcast. But he said he was down. So that's probably one of my like top 3 most wanted interviews. Like when he retired, I wrote like a 3,000 word blog just psychoanalyzing his entire career.
I feel the same way about Nomar Garciaparra. I wrote like a 5-page article on Sox Heads about you know, how fantastic and how much he's leaps and bounds better than Jeter, and
he is.
I don't know. Yeah,
that's just a fact.
That's facts, not fiction. Let's switch gears over to the NLCS. What are your thoughts? Who do you think your World Series predictions are, and have you been enjoying the championship series?
So before the postseason even started, I had Rays Dodgers. That was my bracket. That's where I ended up. Yeah, and everyone was like,
they call you the Rocket.
Yeah, they were like, oh, so you just pick like the top like 2 teams, and I was like, I don't know. I don't understand the people that are like, oh, you didn't have the balls to pick teams that weren't the 2 top seeds. And it's like, well, it's not that. It's just that I think that those are the 2. Like, why would I fill out an edgy pick bracket instead of like, these are the teams that I think are going to actually get there? And, you know, after the Dodgers win last night, they have Clayton Kershaw on the mound for Game 4. I mean, it's very plausible that I'm going to end up being right with. You very well could have the Dodgers and the Rays in the World Series. I mean, you're going to get the Rays, so at least it's half right. It's 2-1 now in the NLCS, and you like your chances with Kershaw on the mound, albeit with the back spasms. But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know that from like a social media standpoint, this postseason hasn't had a lot of juice. You know, like you can get the sense, like obviously 2018 that had a lot of juice because I'm a Red Sox guy and the Red Sox were in it. But even just last year with the ALCS, with the Astros and the Yankees, like that ALCS had a lot of juice. And this
also has a lot to do with the pandemic and the collision of.
You'd think that more people would be on their phones then. Like if
you know what? I had someone saying this in the summer when you had hockey matinees, baseball games, basketball games all around the clock. Then you're talking about football because football season was starting. People were like, "Oh, there's too many sports that are going on." Are you too many sports? What are you talking about? Like, but I think that baseball is just at an extreme disadvantage, at least right now, because no one's really going to be focusing on them when all of their attention, all the bros, talking about their football teams and worried about coronavirus.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could have had great matchups, and it just didn't line up that way. Yeah. Like if you got Yankees Astros again, that gets a lot of juice on Twitter. And if you had gotten Astros Dodgers in the World Series, like the world would have exploded for that. And now you're going to get Braves Rays or Dodgers Rays. And I don't know that anyone's going to go crazy about that matchup regardless. But I mean, I think people will maybe tune in to see Kershaw get a ring if that's the case. But I mean, there's no real juicy storyline with Tampa. It's just like, oh, it's the first World Series in franchise history. But it's like, well, who fucking really cares about that? Like the people in Tampa don't even really care about that. So,
do you think Clayton Kershaw has been given too many chances? I mean, like they've literally been to the brink of a World Series 3 times losing in a row. Do you think? Do you think he's been given too many chances?
No, I think the whole perception that Clayton Kershaw is not a good postseason pitcher is like is wrong. Like he's inconsistent. Like he's had great starts. Like there was that's why I would be furious if I were Clayton Kershaw. Like that's the dude who has the right to be the most upset about the Astros cheating scandal in 2017 because he dominated in game 1 in LA. And then I think it was either game 4, maybe he started game 4. That was in Houston, and he got his doors blown off. And then he came out of the bullpen in game 7 and pitched great in LA. So they were stealing signs in Houston. And if you're Clayton Kershaw and that game 4 where he gets rocked by Houston, if they're not stealing signs, he's probably still dominating like he was in game 1.
Yeah.
And no one is talking about Clayton Kershaw being this playoff bum if in the World Series he dominated in 2 starts and came out of the bullpen in game 7 and dominated and won the World Series. Like everyone's talking about 2017 as that was the year Clayton Kershaw like established himself as an October legend. And instead, the Astros cheated. So they lose that one game, which you could say cost him the whole series and cost him for now his legacy of what people view his postseason like resume as. So I don't think there's anyone on planet Earth that has the right to be more upset about the Astros cheating scandal than Clayton Kershaw.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Who is, I mean, I can already answer this question. David Ortiz. Talk about, oh, look at your eyes lighting up. Talk about
my guy.
I mean, it's a hero. Actually, 7 years ago, yesterday, 2 days ago, it was the 7-year anniversary of his Grand Slam.
Yeah.
I mean, there is nothing that I love more than watching Red Sox highlights. And you want to talk about a true baseball fan? It's just like, I just get, oh my God, like, and I hear Joe Buck and David has just been so instrumental in, I don't know, keeping Red Sox Nation together. But I mean, he's such a special part of everyone's love of the game. And I mean, he loves you.
Yeah, I actually have that tweet framed. He sent me a tweet saying that he loved me. And I tweeted something like, I want to frame this tweet. And there's a company that's what they do. They frame tweets and then they send them to you. So they must do like Twitter searches for people saying, I want to frame this tweet to like promote their business. So they reached out to me and they were like, hey, if we send you this tweet framed, like, will you post it and like tag us? And I was like, fuck yeah, I will, dude. I think they sent it to, that was from like 2017 or 18. I've had it for like 2 or 3 years.
I need to. Tom Brady wished me a happy birthday and tweeted really right when he joined Twitter. So I might have to.
Get that framed. Get that framed.
Yeah, get that framed.
Literally
Speaking of like, can we talk about your studio and talk? Framing shit on the walls.
Yeah.
You have like 18 TVs in your studio.
Yeah. So
are you happy you moved back to Boston? Well, clearly, because you have like
I've never been happy.
10 times more space than you did in your closet in New York City.
Yeah. You never saw my apartment in New York City.
No, because every time we tried to go hang out, you just would blow me off.
That's what I do.
But you lived in Murray Hill. I was like, I'm not going to fucking Murray Hill.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah. You would always be like, yeah, come to like this fancy place or come to that stupid rich white people part of town. And I'm like, no, I'm all set with that.
Listen, society girl. I'm a fancy gal.
You have expensive tastes, and I literally lived amongst like the college kids in Murray Hill.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing at all. I loved my neighborhood in New York, but I'm much happier here. I get to have a car again. Like I didn't have a car 3 years when I was in New York. Yeah, I mean, like I kind of I had that conversation with Dave being like, you know, like it's the pandemic. Who knows when this, like my lease was up at the end of July and I wanted to get out of New York, but I was like, well, when, if I got to wait for a Boston office, which I don't think, and there's no fucking way that that's happening anytime soon.
No,
Like,
I mean,
all right, like,
especially now.
yeah, it's like, so I got to wait for a Boston office to go back to Boston. I'm not doing that. And then I was like, well, my lease is up at the end of July. And like, when am I ever, like, which year is it going to make sense for me to move from New York City to Boston in the middle of a baseball season?
Yeah.
Like, there's never, I was like, this is my chance. Like, there's no baseball right now. Like, this is a fucking once in a lifetime opportunity to like basically Irish goodbye New York City. and that's what I did. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go. And Dave said to me, he was like, well, I think if you go back to Boston, that it'll be a step backwards for you. So I resented that claim, and
it made you motivate more.
I mean, like, so I came back to Boston. I built this studio, which it's an exact replica of the studio that they have in New York City.
Yeah.
So like you guys have like these generic podcast studios, and I think KFC Radio and Pardon My Take have custom studios where it's like their backgrounds look like, you know, they're customized to like their shows. So I was like, I'm going to build one of those fucking things. So for my shows, and Dallas might actually be considering moving out here. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I'm going to have like a custom section 10 set. I'm going to have a custom starting 9 set. And, you know, he's like, yeah, I think it's going to be a step back. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to add more shows. So then that's when we came up with Morning Wood. Yeah. So like,
I like those clips. Those clips are really good. Do you write them? Like you have someone like helping you write them?
No, I mean, I do those at fucking 1:30 in the morning. So
oh, really?
Nice. Yeah, every single night. They're edited at 7 a.m. So like I have the option to like wake up at 6 and then do them, which is just not going to happen because I'll start watching the games at 7 and then I'll watch all the whole slate of games every single night. And then when they're over at like 1:30 in the morning, I'll fire up the camera and I'll do the videos and I send them to my producer, and then she wakes up in the morning and she edits them. So nice. Yeah, it's I am doing significantly more because I live in Boston and I don't have the distraction of the office. Like they posted a video yesterday of like 10 people that are full-time employees were just standing around in a circle, flipping a dildo in the air to see if they could get it to land like straight up in the ground. It's like
that's a Josh Wolf comedy move. He does that.
I love Josh Wolf.
Josh Wolf is Boston guy. Guy.
But it's like, tell me that's more productive than like doing a whole fucking baseball video show every single night. Like it's not a step back, it's a step forward.
My last couple of questions. Do you like my sweatshirt?
I can't see the
I bought this. I bought this sweatshirt.
What year is that?
Champions.
Is that the 90? 91?
91. And I bought it. I mean, I collect vintage sweatshirts and t-shirts and stuff. This is one of my favorites. But I bought it and I was like, this is definitely one of those years, like the Patriots losing the Super Bowl. So everyone wears the AFC championship, but they actually won in 91. So I think my sweatshirt's better than your Calvin sweatshirt.
I think my Calvin sweatshirt is the best sweatshirt in the game right now, but I do like the throwback Minnesota Twins shirt. I feel like you should probably try and find one from what you were born 87.
87. Well, here. Speaking of it.
Ooh, look at that.
You know what? Yeah, something. Hey, listen, that's why they're just parked right here.
I do like that.
You ask and I receive. All right, we're finishing this up. Jared Carrabis. Mm-hmm. Why are you so historically bad at rocks, paper, scissors?
That was crazy. That was crazy because like it is a game of chance, but like there is also the there is a skill to it, which I figured out later
No,
on.
there's not. There's
There
first
is.
of all, you
Oh, yes,
lost
there is.
25 in a row. 25 in a row.
30.
30.
But
Wow.
I won my
there's
last 13 straight.
Okay, so you kind of try to figure it out.
Oh, I figured it out. Like there is a skill to it, and there is a small, I guess, like there's an edge that you can have for sure. But I thought that
It's like a really nice like pandemic kind of shtick, but the shtick has wound up being like everyone's gonna shit on Rocket because he's so bad at this game.
But like
of chance.
That was what was crazy, because like the skill, like the mental part of it, can really only get you to like game 5. Like once you get to game 6, game 7, then it really is a coin toss, because like all bets are off. And like I think it more applies for like a best of 5 series. But once you go best of 7, it's just like people are like there were 15 fucking series that I lost.
In 7, I saw.
Yeah, I lost game 7 like every time. That was like me just having bad luck. But before, I just couldn't figure out like the strategy behind it.
All right, so we're ending the show with a rocks, paper, scissors, best of 5.
Oh, best of 5? All right.
Ready? Okay. Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot.
Yeah, see?
Okay, so you won. See? Okay, ready? That's your thank you one. Okay. Yeah. Hold on. Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay, tie. Stop thinking about it. Why are you waiting?
Because there's a
there's a strategy. Yeah. Listen, we got to
finish
count on this. Ready?
Have I lost yet?
No, you're up 1-0. Ready?
Yeah.
Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot. I got you. Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot.
All right.
I cut you.
That's 1-1. All right,
so we're tied.
All right, 1-1.
Okay. All right. You're getting yoga breaks here. All right, so it's tied.
Yeah.
Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot. Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot.
All right, 2-1 me.
Okay.
Last all right.
Best of 5. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot.
Damn it! I was gonna go scissors too. I was gonna. So
No. First of all, we gotta keep going. Don't explain.
Okay.
There's no explanation. Right. Just keep going.
Right.
Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot. Rocks, paper, scissors, shoot.
And I win.
Won.
See, there is a science to it, and I would have beaten you sooner. If that was a best of 7, I would have come back.
Yeah, no, you would have lost.
I would have beaten you 4-1. That was. I read you like a book. I'll explain to you all my philosophies off the air, because when I come back,
no one can steal it.
When Rock, Paper, Scissors season 2 comes back, I can't have Major League. But think of it this way too, right? Like if you're a Major League Baseball player, like isn't every at bat almost kind of like rock, paper, scissors? Like you're trying to be like, all right, so he just went fastball, curveball. It's a 2-1 count. Like, does he throw me a hook here? Like I don't like. It is kind of. It's a lot like that.
Have you inquired and asked baseball players on your podcast that? Or are you kind of just? I feel like you need to build your theory and your thesis and then present it.
Yeah, I'm having. I think Tyler Glasnow. If the Rays can clinch tonight, then they'll have some off days before the World Series. So I'm going to have Tyler Glasnow on the podcast, who pitched last night, and we did a rock paper scissors with each other. And the wager was the loser has to jump into the Rays tank in Tampa, and I beat him. So
it seems very scary.
R.I.P. Steve Irwin.
Yeah. Last thing, just and then we'll sign off. World Series prediction. Who wins?
Mm,
I'm going to say the Rays beat the Dodgers 4-2.
wow. I'm going to say Rays, Braves, Rays in 7.
Rays, Braves, Rays in 7.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's just, I mean, it's going to be Titletown in Tampa.
I mean,
Jared Carrabis, do you want to plug anything? Well, you just said that you're going to have Tyler Glasnow on your podcast. Thank you so much for joining the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. Let's do this again sometime. Hey, you know what? Now that you're down the street, I got 3 different mics here. We can let's do a crossover podcast episode right here in the studio.
I would absolutely love, and then we'll put it on Patreon and make people pay for it.
Love that. We can put it on OnlyFans.
Dude, okay, that is something for another day.
I mean, that's gonna be my off-season project as I'm starting.
But like, literally, should I be the podcast star on OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Oh God.
You make 50 grand a month. That sounds pretty good to me.
I don't know. I got to talk to my representation about that. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.